let's add some information to our inventory items by displaying their names and descriptions. We need to go into our item data struct. So let's go into content, blueprints, structs, item data, and I'm just going to close everything else for now. We'll reopen it as this episode goes on. Let's pull this down. And we need to add a description variable because we already have our item name. We can make this of type text, and I'm going to use this up arrow to bring it towards the top, and I'll leave it third right there under the icon. So let's go into our master inventory item and compile it. So our children now are updated, and we can now add a description. So let's give it something like, add it to your flashlight to replenish your battery life. And let's open the door key as well, and we'll say, use this to open a locked door. Alright, so let's open we can close these. And let's open our inventory menu. So let's go into UMG, inventory menu. And we want to add a section for the name and description. So let's add a vertical box. Drag this in here. It's a vertical box, so it can contain the name on the top and the description on the bottom. So we're going to have to kind of resize this. A size I like is 560 by 330. And I'm going to put it on the right side here. So let's anchor it to the middle right. I'm going to position X, Y to 0. I want our X-axis alignment to be 1. And our Y-axis alignment to be 0.5. So it's right in the center there. And let's bring this up here. And I want to bring it a bit away from the full edge, so I'll make the position X -50. There we go. So let's add a size box for our name, and we can check the height override and give it something like 50. This is where our name will go. And we can add text to that size box, and we can call the text item name text and set it as a variable. And here, as default, we can just say item name, and we can center it on both. Make it our font, and we'll make this, let's see, we'll make it default. Let's also remember to remove the shadow offset to center it in a bit. And you can align it to the center. I actually think I want to align it to the left. I'm going to have both of these aligned to the left, so it's a bit closer to our inventory. We can also make kind of this little white line between the name and the description. So I'll do that with an image that I just created real quick that you can import. So let's go into textures, and we can just drag in our image, which is this separator image, and it's just this gradient I made. And let's open it up, and we want to change as always the compression settings to user interface 2D. This here is the same settings that it is when we bulk edit via property matrix. It just looks different when we're doing it for multiple than when we're doing it for one. So our compression settings up here, and then our texture group is down here, and we want to set it to UI. So let's hit save and close that. And it's a opacity gradient. So we can add another size box below the item name in a vertical box. And I'm just going to make the height override 5. And we can add an image to this size box. And it fills automatically, but you can double check to make sure it's filled. And the image we want is our separator. And it just kind of creates this white gradient just as a separation for the name and the description. Since it's white, you can also use the tint to make it any color you want. We need to give it just a slight like bluish tint or something like that. And we don't need this image to be a variable, so we can uncheck that. Now for the rest of the vertical box, we can just add our text for our description text. So drag it into our vertical box, and here it is. And we'll rename it to description text, and we'll make it a variable. And we can change our font to our Calibri font, and we can make it light or possibly light italic. We can make it a little smaller, like 20. Remove the shadow offset. And we can give the top just a bit of a padding, just to bring it a little farther down away from the separator, of like 10 maybe. And there we have our text for our description. And we have one issue here, and I'll show you what it is if we click on our text block. And let's give this text something really long, like this is the description for the currently selected, oh, can't see it, selected item. Oh, well, that actually fits. Hooray. As you can see, it goes outside of our vertical box, so we don't want that. We want it to wrap around to the bottom here. So to fix this, we need to scroll down and choose auto wrap text, and this will auto wrap it to our vertical box. Well, if we're going to leave it at this, we could at least give it proper grammar, and there we go. We can see how it wraps around. So we could actually see how this looks in game since we've just added it to our menu. We can hit play and tab, and here we have our item name and our item description. Now of course this won't update, and it'll always be showing, and we don't want either of those things. So we can go back to the menu, and we can take this vertical box, and we can actually make it a variable. The entire vertical box that is holding all of this information. And let's rename it to something like item info vertical box. And we can set the default visibility to hidden, so we don't see it by default. Now we can go to the blueprints, and we can make a custom event, and we can call this show item info, and the input we want is item data, and it'll be of type S item data. So we can break this, and now we have the name and the description, and we can just set our name and description to that. So we can get our item name text, and we want to set text, and we'll plug in our name to that. Let's do the same for our description text, and we will set the text, and we can set this directly from our description. After that, we want to make the whole vertical box visible after we update it, so we can get our item info vertical box, and we can set the visibility to non-hit testable self and all children. We don't want to be able to actually click or interact with any of the texts. We just want to be able to see them. And we just have to make another custom event for hiding the info. So we'll make a custom event, hide item info. And we just need to set the vertical box visibility to hidden. So now we just need to call these, and I want them to be called whenever we hover over an item slot. So let's go to our blueprints, or not our blueprints, sorry, our UMG inventory slot. And for this button here, we just have to create on hovered and on unhovered. So we'll create one for both. We can click the slot button right here, create an on unhovered. It's the same thing as doing it in our designer. And on hovered, we can just get our inventory menu ref and call show item info. And for item data, we will just get our player ref, get the BPC inventory, get item data at index, and our index is our index variable. And for the item data, we can just get class defaults from their item and plug in our item data. Compile and save. And then on unhovered, we just need to call the hide item info. And now we can test it out. So let's hit play. Let's grab 2 of our items. Let's grab some batteries and some door keys. And now when we hover over the battery, we have our name that says flashlight battery. Add it to your flashlight to replenish your battery life. Unhovering hides it. And when we hover over our door key, it updates to saying door key and uses to open a locked door. Great. So now we have our name and description for the item we're hovering over. You could easily change this to never setting this to hidden, so that we just wouldn't have, you would just make this show item info to updating the info, and you would remove this visibility, you'd remove this custom event, you would change the vertical box in here to visible by default, and you wouldn't need to call hide item info, you would just need to call update item info. And that's how you do it if you didn't want it to disappear. Forgot we have to press E now when you stop hovering.